Hello, everybody. My name is Rod Bridgman. I'm a senior solution consultant working for NextThink from the UK. Today, what I want to talk about is driving down service desk costs without increasing escalations. How are we going to do that? Well, in terms of driving down costs, I think there are four key elements where I think NextThink can really add benefit to an organization's IT service management processes. The first one is about improving efficiency of mean time to repair. Secondly, I'm going to talk about contextual self-help, and so getting people to help themselves before they have to contact the service desk, in other words. Next, we're going to look at some proactive visibility and some alerting capability that we have inside of NextThink, again, to help resolve things more quickly. And finally, we're going to look at some automated responses. NextThink has a very powerful automation type capability to help drive efficiency through automation. So, enough of slides. Let's have a look at some actual software itself. Okay. So, what we're looking at here is one of the new screens that we have inside of NextThink. Now, NextThink has always been very good at taking data from end users' devices and data from end users' feedback and actually creating what we call actual insight from that data that we've collected. And we had a number of screens previously to help us do that. This is a new screen, though, that we've recently launched. And what it's designed to do is designed to actually look at things from a slightly more business perspective. And so, again, we're still collecting that data that we always collected, the 900 hard objective metrics, the technical part. We're also collecting that feedback that we call what's the user sentiment, and we're still collecting that. And we still have the ability to marry those up together to prove an overall score. And that's really what we're doing here in the top left-hand corner. This is a score out of 100. This organization has scored 73. We can see here, there's a nice trend line that shows how that score has been performing over time. But new to this screen, though, is a very important feature over here on the right. We can actually see how many hours have been lost in the previous week due to poor user experience. And we have various ways of breaking this down and understanding why that should be. I'm going to park this for the time being, and I'm going to look at another aspect of how NextThink can help ITSM processes and how we can help efficiency. So NextThink has out-of-the-box integration to virtually every single ITSM tool, but today I'm going to be using a ServiceNow to do this little demonstration. I'm going to be talking about how we do what we describe as incident enrichment. If I go to create a brand new incident inside this ITSM solution, IT service management solution, what we can see is actually on this particular screen, there's actually just 3 tabs down here at the bottom. But if we start filling this in, and there's a chap here called George, and he's having a problem with his device, and so we can pick out George's device, and it's a typical problem for an end user. It's slow. If I just come up here and save the incident, literally as soon as I've done that, there's a real-time lookup going on between the ITSM solution and NextThink. And what we can see has happened, as opposed to having just 4 tabs at the bottom of the screen, we now have 7 tabs. And that's, there's a real-time integration gone on there between the ITSM tool and NextThink. We've pulled back some very nice information in here. So we can see down here that we pull back things about where the end user's connecting from or what type of device they're connecting from. But what I want to draw your attention to is this one we call the L1 checklist. This is a real benefit for people who are line 1 analysts on a service desk. Typically what happens is somebody phones up the service desk and says, my machine's running slow. And it's then up to the skill of the analyst to actually walk through a set of questions to say, have you tried this? Have you tried that? Could you look at this for me? But actually, 9 times out of 10, the person at the end of the phone isn't an IT professional, and it takes time to walk through that process and get the end user to understand what you actually want them to do. With this L1 checklist, straight away, we've pulled very useful information directly into that ticket that we opened just a few seconds ago. So if you look down this list of metrics that we pulled back, you can see the person isn't using the corporate antivirus. They're not using the corporate firewall. It's been 721 days since their machine was last rebooted. I'm surprised it hasn't stopped completely, but okay. And we can see down here, it has high CPU and it has high memory. And so straight away, it's given the analyst a very good understanding of what's going wrong on this machine. But furthermore, what we then have over here is NextThink has what we call a set of automated remediations. We call them remote actions. And what they basically are is a series of PowerShell scripts, and we use them for two things. So firstly, we can either use them for creating automated remediations. And so you can see down here, I've got the ability to trigger a reboot or to clean up the person's hard drive, for example. Or secondly, I said we collected 900 metrics routinely. They're not all the metrics we collect by any means. We still have got the capability to collect additional metrics by using PowerShell. And so again, if we haven't got as much information down here that we need, I can go and collect more information from the end user's device by, again, running one of our remote actions and extracting additional information from that end user's device. Organizations that have deployed this talk about reducing their incident triage time by some 50% by this type of capability. The other benefit we get from this, of course, as well, is that if incidents have to be escalated to second or third line, you have much better information inside the incident, inside the trouble ticket, for actually allocating it to the right escalation team. So often in business, tickets get bounced around between different escalation teams while they actually find the right team to actually tackle and manage the problem. But with this, again, it's much easier because you have much better information. So again, very popular with our customers. Lots of people have done this integration, and it's to say it's just a way of greatly reducing the instant triage time by using the instant enrichment from NextThing. The next little piece I want to walk you through is, again, a little bit of self-service here. So again, I'm using ServiceNow for this instance, but it can be pretty much any portal. We can see down here, there's a widget that's been embedded inside this portal so a person can see how their own device is performing. If you click onto this widget, again, there's a bit of a real-time lookup going on, and we can see down here, okay, my machine's all right for disk space, and it was last started fairly recently, but it looks like I've got a problem with Teams. And so again, if I want to actually go and try and do some fix for Teams, I can click on the fix button down here, and I can run, again, potentially more remote actions to fix issues that might be going on with my Teams instance, and actually resolve that more quickly. But again, more importantly, without actually touching the service desk at all. And so again, self-service fixing by accessing this type of capability through a third-party portal. Okay, so that's enough about integration with ITSM. Let's look at that problem that we first started with up here in our Experience Central view. And so I explained that this is important because we can see down here the amount of hours that have been lost due to poor experience during the current week. I can do other bits and pieces in here, but again, I'm focusing on that lost time view. If I go in here and focus on what's causing me to lose most time in here, I can see that straight away that the SAP S/4HANA instance has come up here, and we're losing 41 hours in the last week due to poor productivity or issues affecting the end user. We can see that trend line over time. We can see how many employees have been infected, what the lost time was. So I want to drill down here into understand the issues that are happening with this particular application. When we drill down from here, we go into our application experience module, and there are really four sectors to this. I'm not going to go through this in any detail at all today, but we can see adoption, how many people have been using the application, for how long, basically. We can look at the reliability of the application, so we can see how many errors have been occurring in the application and how many people have been impacted by those errors. We've collected, of course, user sentiment. So again, one thing I haven't shown yet, which I'll come on to show you, is our engage campaigns, little pop-ups in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen, asking you what your experiences of using an application. So we get real feedback as well as those hard objective metrics. But if we go and have a look at the speed tab on here, again, there's two pages to this. We can see, first of all, those page loads, and we have useful things in here like back-end performance, network performance, and we can see how the client are performing. We can also go into transactions as well. And for this particular example, this organization has actually deployed a new version of a transaction, a new version of established transaction. So let's go and have a look at that, and let's go and compare how those two different versions of transaction are actually performing. So here is the old version, so post goods issue, and here's the new version, post goods issue version 2. And if we go and look up the top of the screen here, we can see the old version of the transaction was actually performing around about 3 seconds per transaction. But when we migrated across the new version, we can see down here it's around about 7 seconds. So, okay, I want to really understand why this new transaction is taking so much longer. So let's focus purely on that new transaction. Then actually, if I scroll a little bit further down the screen, I can see there's a whole bunch of old versions of Chrome that appear also to be having an impact on this poor transaction speed. So having selected those, again, I can go and look at the top of the screen again. And this time, focusing on purely those old versions of Chrome, we can now see the full horror, if you like, of this actual transaction. And we can see it's actually taking 10 seconds when it's being accessed with that old version of Chrome. So of course, I now want to try and understand why that's happening. And so if I go and look at, if I go and drill down into devices, I then have a list of devices that are impacted by that actual issue. And I can drill down onto the top device here. And I get a very nice new, what we call our timeline view. I can see down here when the SAP S4 application is being accessed and being used. But I can also see when it's being used, I can see there's a spike in the memory, and I can see there's a spike in the CPU. Now, if I want to understand why that is, I can simply click on that point and click at it, and it comes back and it actually says, of course, it's that old version of Chrome that's actually consuming 90% of CPU. So it's absolutely hammering that machine when somebody's trying to access that SAP S4HANA instance. And so in terms of the see, diagnose, fix that NextThink always talks about, we've seen the issue, we've managed to do a bit of diagnostics on it, now we need to fix it, of course. And so if we go and drill into here, these are, again, a series of remote actions. And we can see down here, I have a remote action here to update to the latest version of Chrome. So I can click on that, and I can run it across this single machine and fix the issue. But of course, I don't want to do that, though, because there are a whole bunch of machines that were being impacted by that same problem. And again, this is a typical piece of NextThink type capability here. Once you manage to diagnose what the issue is on one machine, you can, of course, then go and fix it on a whole bunch of other machines. So I can pick out all those other machines, and I can do the same thing. I can update to the latest version of Chrome, and I can fix all those machines with just purely the insight from one machine. But again, it's still a little bit sort of hydraulic. Somebody has to be doing that. Somebody has to be driving it from the service desk, potentially a proactive analyst, somebody like that be doing the job. Wouldn't it be much easier if NextThink actually automated that process for you? Well, of course, NextThink allows you to do that. And we do that with a campaign. And you can see down here, we have a campaign that actually picks out people using that old version of Chrome. So here's the result. If you want to preview that campaign, what I can do, if I come up here, I can click onto here, and here's one of our campaigns, say little pop up in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen, and it simply says, your SAP performance is being affected by the version of Chrome installed on your device. Would you like us to upgrade it? If you click the yes, then it's going to go away and it's going to update Chrome on your machine, and it's going to fix the issue. Again, without even touching the service desk, purely proactive, purely proactive management and purely proactive fix to a resolution that maybe your service desk doesn't even know about. So just to summarize on what I've shown you today then, we've looked at improving efficiency through mean time to repair, and we did that with what we call an L1 checklist and integration of NextThink data into an IT service management solution. We next looked at some contextual help, where we looked at the portal and see how a user can pull up information about their own device by connecting to a generic third-party portal and just clicking on a widget and seeing what exists, what their own machine's performance looks like, and again they have the ability to run remediations over that to fix the issues. Thirdly, we looked at some proactive visibility and maybe some alerting. We drilled down into dashboards, and we saw there was a problem with SAP consuming lots of people's time and creating inefficiency in the workplace. We were able to understand that, and finally we were able to drill down into the issues causing it, understand and diagnose those issues, then not only fix it on one machine, not only fix it on all machines, but actually proactively fix it across the whole estate. So that was just a little bit of a very short demonstration today, just showing you how we can help drive down service desk costs without increasing escalations. If you'd like to understand more, please come and speak to us or please come and look at nextthink.com, or please come and speak to your local NextThink representative. I hope you found that useful, and thank you very much for your attention today.